And then I had the wonderful blessing of meeting my wife, and she was just such an instrumental person in my development and change because she loved me well, but also held me accountable. So she sort of
Mhm.
said like, "Hey, this is great, and I want to be with you. I want to be married to you, and we can do better."
Right.
And so that little bit of encouragement and support, that Michelle, that really just like poured lighter fluid on the fire that was already built. And so from there, I had been an owner of a recruiting company, and I said, I think I just want to be a therapist. It had been a dream, if you can believe this, that I had journaled about when I was 8.
Oh, wow.
So I actually have the journal, and I always tell people that I wanted to be a therapist mostly because I always dressed like one, and my career options were limited. So I already had the corduroys, I already had the penny loafers. I was there.
Patches on the elbow.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was not far to go. So no one was terribly surprised. But then I went to school and became a therapist, and have gotten the privilege and honor of doing a lot of different work. I've worked in the legal system. I've worked with a lot of severe trauma. I've worked with the relationships and leaders, and so over the course of my career, it's just been really cool to see God show up. And in those moments, it's really developed my faith because I've had so many moments with clients where it would just be impossible to think it's not a God thing.
Absolutely. Well, and I love what you said about not the next day, all of a sudden, some kind of I dream a genie, you're all fixed.
Yeah.
Because I talk about that in my story is two-part memoir, and it was a lot of trauma. My family, my parents divorcing was actually a good thing for us because there was an idyllic before that, and there was an idyllic after that. But nonetheless, um, I don't believe that. I mean, I believe in miracles and I believe God is still in the miracle business. But I think my miracle or my healing, and I think a lot of people's healing, is an over time thing. It
Yeah.
is so that that journey can be imparted on others. And I honestly believe that the best therapists, counselors, have had that experience. I'm not saying you can't be one and not have gone through a bunch of trauma, but I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who hasn't gone through something anyway. But I think when we sit down, and there have been a lot of times where I've talked to people who went to their pastor and their pastor's wife and what have you to have some counseling, and they kind of led a really great spiritual, not overly sinful lifestyle. Not that they were sin free, and that person didn't feel like heard, if you will, or like understood maybe as much. And so I agree. I mean, I think that's fascinating that at 8, when you were still at the idyllic point, that you wanted to do this. But I think that's what every bit of between 8 and now was about for you.
Yeah, I clearly did not understand the cost of the education. Had I really grasped that, I might have done something. I might have said something different. Astronaut or something.
Go be
But
a
I'm with you.
plumber.
I mean, yeah, boy, that would have been easier. I mean, I think as like a therapist, the people we help most are the people we once were, and
Right.
and so if we have been a person who just hasn't needed a lot of help or hasn't had a lot of hard things, I think our pool of people that we can help is probably smaller.
Sure.
And that's not to say anything bad about somebody, but it's just to say like, yeah, to your point, if you don't get it, it's hard to relate to.
Sure.